Oh, listen, I apologize to the people, to you, Michael, to the people of the United States of America for being late. Once again, I continue to operate on CP time. And I just want to say it's who I am. It's where I'm from. One day I will overcome. But so far, I just have not been able to transcend my roots from East Oakland. And anyway, listen, there's not really much to talk about this week in terms of the news, right? The headlines are pretty muted. So why don't you and I just talk about, like, how was lunch today? What'd you have? Tuna?
Yeah, I've been doing hard-boiled eggs recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, just a hard-boiled egg, just nothing like straight ascetic. Is this some paleo shit? Is this like
Well, I've been watching a lot of Columbo, and Columbo always goes on the scene. He's got the cigar, and he's spilling ash all over the evidence.
What Columbo is? How do you even know what that is? I don't understand you Zoomer types.
It's free on Tubi, so.
That is that what it is? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway, I apologize again for being radically late. Again, I attribute that entirely to ascribe that entirely to my racial makeup. So let's talk about.
Yeah, I was gonna say along those lines. Thomas Sowell would say, "Your neighbors in Oakland got it from you, the Scots-Irish."
Oh, Michael Weimer, you just shut the fuck up. Too smart. All right, let's yeah, that would be doubling back on me, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
well done. Touche, my brother. So I don't know, like, yeah, what else? Let's see. Has anything happened?
Yeah. Well, honestly,
I can't. Let's see.
I think we should talk about how actually calm we are right now. Like, for so much happening, for literal bombs dropping on Tel Aviv.
Right.
We seem pretty calm, right?
Right. Excellent point. So were this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? I don't know. Right. I could imagine most times in my life over the last 30 to 40 to 50 years, were this to happen, I would be crying on camera. People who know me know this. Flailing, maybe beating things live with my fists. I don't know. Yeah. No, I'd be quite overwrought, and I should be. And by the way, I'm not trying to shame anyone who does those things now, because yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. We're killing people in the name of what? Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we've completely, at least before, and this is like the question of the moment, I think, and I keep mentioning this, but Daniel Bessner and I, if you look at Unregistered, whenever Dan and I did that, which I think was maybe a year and a half ago, that was kind of the focus, was sort of like, we agree that the American empire, the leaders of the American government, and I basically convinced him of this too, and this is like part of my project, which my Substack, my latest Substack, goes all the way to the bottom of, if you want to get to this, from the founders, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, all of them, until I guess Obama, were absolute religious American imperialists, meaning that they had this idea, which they expressed, that God commanded America to oversee the world. I mean, truly incredible biblical shit, like the way they would talk about it. And that's all the way through Obama, for sure. And then with the rise of Trump, beginning in 2015, so it's now 10 years of the Trump era, by the way. We just
10 years to the day, about a couple days ago. Yeah,
the golden escalator, they call it. It's just he should stop using the term golden as the modifier for all of his achievements. I'm just saying. But until then, yeah, that was very clear, and that's what, there was no question. You know, I mean, like, until 2015, 2016, 2017, until Trump, there was no ambiguity whatsoever. I mean, the foreign policy establishment in America, in Washington, D.C., in the United States, in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party was entirely in lockstep, completely unified, monolithic. Yes. This is one of those rare instances where like some social phenomenon is actually monolithic. Yeah, I mean, the entire American ruling class, the people who actually set governmental policy, I don't think there was any significant disagreement on foreign policy until Trump.
I disagree with that reading of history. In at least every election cycle, the American people vote for peace, and they vote for limited.
Oh yeah,
as limited as possible. When
I meant among the people who actually run things, not the voters. I wasn't talking about the voters. I'm talking about the people who actually work in the State Department and the Defense Department and the National Security Council, like those people, and then the think tanks who inform them in DC. That's who runs American foreign policy. That, by the way, for those who wonder, like, yeah, it's about 1,000 or so people, maybe 2,000, 3,000. The think tanks are the outer ring, and that's sort of the intellectual content providers. But then it's State Department staff, Defense Department staff, and NSC staff. I think that's about it. Yeah, in terms of like who actually decides, you know, whether we go to a war with Iran, whether we fund the dirty war in Syria, whether we bomb Libya, all those, the big stuff. Yeah, it's about 1,000 people. And you were going to say about them what?
I'm not entirely sold on that being the unifying character of America. I get the thesis from Washington to Obama. I'm not 100%. I think you've got the period of presidents after Lincoln up to Teddy Roosevelt having a certain limited foreign policy. You've got Nixon in there. You've got, you know, Woodrow Wilson promising not to get into World War I. You've got FDR promising not to get involved in Europe. Yeah.
Right. Which tells you a lot about the difference between the American people, right, and American foreign policymakers historically, right? That's, to me, the fact that Roosevelt lied and pretended to be a peacemaker, Wilson lied and pretended to be a peacemaker, George W. Bush lied, remember?
Yeah.
And pretended to be a peacemaker. And look what they all did. They wrought like apocalyptic havoc across the world. Tells you that the American people.
Yeah.
No, I think, am I right? Like, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're vibing on this.
There's a strand of thought. I agree that there's a strand of thought from the founders. That's been in power, that is heavily WASP, that sees America as the Christian, the Christian conquerors of the world and bringing enlightenment to the world and spreading democracy and civilization everywhere. I'm not sure how dominant I want to say that faction is, but it's certainly deeply entrenched in power and characteristic of the whole of America since its founding. Yeah.
Okay.
But you got up to Trump. Trump definitely is a split from that. Yeah.
Let's do the news.
Yeah.
And Melinda in the chat is raising an important point. Yeah, so I actually thank you, Melinda, because that reminds me. I want to amplify Brian Berletic's hypothesis. I mean, for him, I guess it's a thesis. For me, it's a hypothesis, but I think it's quite compelling.
Yeah, he's been great.
And I think, well, on this particular thing, it's just, I really am not sure if he's right, but I think he might be. And regardless, if we think through it from top to bottom, it will make all of us listening here much more intelligent and educated on this very pressing issue.
This was your hypothesis too, right? For a
while.
while.
I didn't know. No, I didn't until I heard him say this a few days ago. Whenever he said this on the Duran 2 days ago, might have been Monday. So yeah, for those who don't know, for number one, his name is Brian Berletic. His YouTube channel is The New Atlas. And then he was on the Duran, which I've mentioned many times. I'm sure almost everyone listening knows about the Duran. But if you don't, go watch the Duran every single day. And tell everyone to watch the Duran every single day. And let me shut off my phone. And you will be, the world will be a much better place. So anyway, but yeah. So Berletic was on the Duran, I think, on Monday, and he put forward this thesis that was really stunning, caught me off guard. And I have not always agreed with him, by the way. So like, he and I don't know him at all. I don't at all. I have differed with him. So let me put that out on certain things. But like, here's the thesis. Go ahead.
What? Yeah, well, it just reminded me of what you would say before October 7th about the issue in the Middle East and about Israel, in that it's the United States that is the dog, and it is Israel that's the tail, right? That the United States is strategically using Israel for its foreign policy.
Yeah, but I would say he even went further than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just to orient people, like there's been a debate for about 20 years since Mearsheimer and Walt wrote the book about the Israel lobby, when was that? 20-ish years ago, 15-ish years ago.
Yeah.
That kind of kicked this debate about how powerful the Israel lobby was. And I poo-pooed it. Not poo-pooed. I mean, I just thought it was a little overblown. I wasn't worried about it, and I've said many times. And then I found out in the last 2.5 years that year and a half, that the freaking Israel, the state of, controls the NYPD and the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department. So anyway, bring us back.
The Rockford Files and Brian Berletic and what he said 3 days on the Duran.
So, Berletic's thesis, I guess this is, yes, exactly, contra to the Mearsheimer-Walt thesis, is that, and it gets more persuasive the more I think about it, that this is actually America's war against Iran. That the war against Iran that is being undertaken right now has been, one should say, America's war for 25-ish years. The entirety of the 21st century, Berletic says, but this is true, just look at the record, beginning with George W. Bush, continuously, with no break in this, by the way. And this is Trump, Obama, doesn't matter. Every president for the last 25-ish years has been waging a covert and overt war against Iran, aiming at regime change in Iran. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's clear. So George W. Bush, I think in the early 2000s, devoted many, many millions of dollars to the USAID and National Endowment for Democracy to directly fund opposition, meaning regime change groups within Iran who are seeking the overthrow of the Iranian regime. And a lot of the protests we've heard about, not all, but a lot of the protests we've heard about that have happened in the streets of Tehran in the last 25 years were led by, directed by, or done by groups that were directly funded by our tax money from USAID and NED. I mean, this is the biggest untold story and unknown story in American foreign policy and geopolitics, I think, in my lifetime, actually, is how much money and how much influence has been distributed by the United States globally in these places without us even knowing about it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how naive we all were during Arab Spring and how everybody thought that organically all these democratic uprisings were happening everywhere, and that really at the heart of everybody in the streets is a liberal Democrat like the rest of us.
Me too. This is one of my, you can, it's still up, unfortunately. Reason Magazine, Thaddeus Russell, 2011, I think. I wrote an article. I mean, it's not terrible, but basically it was basically celebratory about Arab Spring. And my thing was all about how, like, you know, technology and the internet has enabled freedom to reign and spread across places like the Middle East. But I had no idea at the time. I was writing it at the time. I had no idea how deeply involved American NGOs and American and USAID, NED, and British NGOs and the British MI6, et cetera, were deeply involved, like on the ground, people by the thousands on the ground, including actual Americans and actual British people and people paid by British and American on the ground in Tunisia and Libya and Syria and Egypt and Jordan and all across the Middle East during Arab Spring, who were leading Arab Spring. Yeah, we didn't know this. I didn't know this. We didn't know how deeply penetrated that movement was. Now, again, a lot of that movement, Arab Spring, across those countries was totally organic and like was not at all, I don't think, fomented directly by or even indirectly by, you know, US or Western influence, but it was big. It was really big. And I regret writing that article. It feels like I was very naive about it, but again, I can't be held accountable because no one knew at the time.
Yeah.
In 2011,
there was this optimistic haze over everything at that time. I was reading Scott Adams' book from like 2015, and it's funny to hear him like glowingly talk about Bill Gates as this philanthropist and just the milieu of back then, that it's a totally different planet than right now. I feel like so much has happened.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole kind of the billionaire tech philanthropy class that we all know and love so well, whether we hate them or love them or both, you know, from Soros on the left to the Kochs on the right. Well, actually, the Kochs are, I take it back. The Kochs are not a part of this, as far as I know. But the rest of them, Gates, and now Thiel, I hope not my friend Mark Andreessen. He's not really my friend, but he's sort of my friend. I don't know. I don't know where he's going, but this whole, you know, Elon Musk, I mean, they're really global imperialists of a new sort. That's all. Right? I mean, that seems pretty clear. They're all disturbingly interested in global politics and inserting themselves in various ways into specifically American geopolitical ventures, right? It's not like they're, oh, you know what, we're going to fund this, you know, malaria net in this third world country that the United States doesn't care about. No, they're really curious. They're really invested literally in Ukraine, in Israel, in all these places. So yeah. It's a new imperialist elite.
Yeah. So Brian Berletic
yes.
On
back to this.
Yeah. So I mean, you were saying that this was the case like with Kissinger, and that this was how relationships worked in the late 20th century, and then something shifted to where it seemed more ideological, that Netanyahu had all of America in the palm of his hands. But from what Brian documents, it seems like the U.S. has always been in control and they've always had this plan, and that they've used Israel to do these regime changes that the deep state has kind of always wanted.
So we've reached some clarification recently, or at least I have. And I think it's worth, I think people should hear me out on this. I think it'll help clarify, and this won't change your politics no matter where you stand on this, but I recommend watching Yoram Hazony. You know about this guy? Yoram Hazony. So I had forgotten. I knew about him before Gaza started, because before then he was known not about being an Israeli. He was known as the founder of the nationalist populist movement. And this is fascinating. The intellectual founder of the nationalist populist movement, and this is, I think, widely accepted, which includes MAGA in the United States, which includes the Orban movement in Hungary, which includes the Le Pen movement in France, which includes the UKIP Brexit movement in the UK. And there's more and more and more. Bolsonaro in Brazil. Oh, geez. That intellectually, the main founder of that, apparently, according to them themselves. Oh my God. Is this guy Yoram Hazony? Yoram Hazony, who is an Israeli American, spent most of his life in the United States. Not unusual for Israelis, but whatever. Who has appeared at CPAC, who's been just a major figure in MAGA and within the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. And I did not know this, but there was an actual intellectual formation within the first Trump administration around foreign policy. We all thought it was just hodgepodge, Trump, going here, there, hiring a neocon like John Bolton, and then talking about isolationism, and then going this. No, there was actually a moment among the maelstrom of Trump's mind where he did settle upon a couple of guys, Michael Anton, an intellectual from Claremont, I believe, and this guy, Yoram Hazony. And they established what they then declared to be, and they used the term, they branded it, the Trump doctrine. Did anyone know there was a Trump doctrine? I didn't know this until this week, when Yoram Hazony has been doing media talking about how he and Michael Anton in the Trump administration established the idea of a Trump doctrine governing American foreign policy. Okay, so I looked it up. True, there were a couple of articles in 2018 about these two guys who had established this idea about a Trump doctrine in the United States government governing foreign policy, but no one really, it wasn't a thing, right? No one watching this, I didn't know it. No one knows this. But actually, it is an intellectual lineage that has remained unbroken among, get this, the pro-Israel Zionist branch in the Trump movement, and in particular the Trump governing movement, meaning the people who actually were in the Trump administration. Here's the theory. Get this. This is the Yoram Hazony. You can look it up. It's in the foreign policy. If you just Google their names, you'll see about 3 or 4 articles in 2018 laying this out. And this is what they are fighting for currently. And this is what the Iran war currently is all about for them, for the serious high-level geopolitical strategists who are working for Israel and the foreign policy establishment via Trump. The Trump doctrine is, and I think he's actually trying to exert this without naming it, they reject neoconservatism, which is really fascinating. Yoram Hazony's like, yeah, we hate neoconservatism. Israelis hate neoconservatism. We have no interest in, get this, a global American empire in which the United States is dictating how cultures are operated and how political systems are determined. We don't care about spreading democracy. We're not interested in regime change unless it benefits Israel. To which I say, damn, at least that's totally logically consistent, and I get that. The neoconservative, what they call neoconservative, which is really the age-old original American exceptionalist imperialist idea that America should rule the world and govern it and make it better in doing so. Yeah, turns out, and of course I should have realized this, Zionists don't care. And they don't want, that's not good. There's nothing of interest to them in that.
They don't have loyalty to this country. They have
why would they care?
Another country. Yeah.
Why would they care? Yeah, I mean, and that's not even to say anything negative about them. That's not devious at all. That's just makes perfect logical sense. If the
ideology,
if your commitment is to a Jewish state in the Middle East, of course, why would you give a shit about America, ruling the earth? Unless and when it coincides with your interest, which it has in many cases in the last 70 years. That's the reason.
It's funny. Ben Shapiro has said that explicitly so many times. So many influencers have said that so many times. Like, right. America is great. I love America because it helps Israel, because it exists to help Israel.
Sure. Right. I mean, the whole thing's fraudulent. Everybody drop what you're doing right now and go watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Ted Cruz. It is, have you seen it yet?
Yeah. So we are in a hot war now, and America's first casualty is a sitting senator, Ted Cruz. He's been assassinated by a Qatari asset. We all witnessed it live on camera.
Wow. I mean, every MAGA person in America should be forced to watch that. And I don't see how Israel survives that. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't see how American senators, because Ted Cruz is the smartest of the people in Congress who sort of have like the boomercon position. And he wasn't even advocating for a full boots on the ground war. He wasn't really advocating for too much yet. But like, he's supposed to be the intellectual, and he was found to be like completely ignorant of basic facts about the regime and
right,
having no foresight about what a regime change would mean.
So let's see. Ted Cruz, I believe, was Harvard undergrad and Yale Law School. I think so.
Yeah, and debate team guy too.
Not just debate team, but I think the captain of the debate team and national champion with the debate teams at Harvard and Yale. Then was a lawyer, a litigator, and he became famous, I believe, for his impressive courtroom arguments. And I have always thought, damn, Ted Cruz is no joke. I mean, in terms of his chops, he's got game. He's very, very smart, and especially excellent at arguing. And it was wild, and Jesus, man, anti-Semitic tropes are just having a field day again, thanks to Israel. But as soon as, and he spent like 30 minutes, 40 minutes deflecting questions about Israel and AIPAC.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? I mean, he went hard.
AIPAC, the famous American lobby that serves America's interests. AIPAC.
Well, they're American citizens, Michael. I mean, that's what they say. I mean, it's amazing, which is true. Like, technically, it's totally true. Like I believe every staff person for AIPAC is an American citizen.
Yeah.
So therefore, it can't be a foreign lobby. But like, as soon as the conversation finally bent toward Israel and AIPAC again, and Cruz spent a long time trying to forestall this thing from happening, from talking about it. Once it started, I mean, the body language, the stammering, the obvious defensiveness, the obvious insecurity, and then the arguments that he put forward, the primary one was that the Bible, and he used this language, the Bible commands, that was the word he used, commands that we support Israel.
Oh. He was
Tucker, and this is one of the most amazing 2.5 minutes you'll ever watch on video. Everybody needs to watch it. And Tucker just pressed him on this. I said, "Excuse me." And of course, Tucker's Mr. Christian Protestant boy. He's like, "Excuse me, where does it say this in the Bible?" And of course, Cruz doesn't know which book it's in, and Tucker's actually a little bit wrong. It's sort of in Genesis, but it's really in Numbers. But whatever.
Genesis 12:3. I think that's what he's quoting, and that's what.
But they don't say Israel.
They don't say Israel. They say
no,
you. Yeah,
it's
but
legit.
Israeli propaganda cites that. Israeli propaganda cites that in particular.
Right. Whatever. Yeah. Right. And so, but so sure. Either way, it doesn't matter. So so Tucker's like, so does that mean the current borders and the current government and the current nation state of Israel? That's what the Bible was referring to. And Cruz says yes. I mean, and then he doubles down on it a couple times.
He's doubling down on it right now on Twitter. Yeah, he's like saying, of course Israel means Israel. Yeah, of course.
Of course, Tucker what it says in Genesis, means the Netanyahu government and what it intends with Iran.
Yeah.
Means that we should support bombing Iran now. Yeah. I mean, Tucker was phenomenal. He was great. This is, again, Tucker at his best, which is tremendous. I mean, I don't know. Everyone needs to watch this interview. And if you watch this interview in its entirety and you continue to think that the United States should support Israel, I don't know what else. You are retarded. You're mental. I mean, really. And I don't think anybody watching this is retarded. So I would think it's 100% hit rate. Even the Zionists watching this, and there are a few, watch that interview and tell me. well, I'll go further. Tell me that Israel as a Jewish ethno state will survive. After watching that interview, that's your only hope, guys. You without Ted Cruz and his ilk, of course, Israel can't make it as a Jewish ethno state. If you want to grant the Palestinians civil rights, God forbid, you can survive as a state. Oh my God, we can't. But if you want a Jewish ethno state, you're done, guys. Ted Cruz, I think Ted Cruz, I think that was like the final nail in the coffin. I really do. Like, who the fuck is going to support this shit after watching that?
It shows that he never anticipated that his views would receive even the most basic feedback, or that he wouldn't have to actually defend his views, that his views would just be taken, because in Washington, D.C. they are.
Right.
And on cable news, they are. Like, he's been on Fox News like all this week saying that a mushroom cloud's going to hit New York.
I mean, Ted Cruz, he's a ninja. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ted Cruz is no joke intellectually. Like, I would not, on a subject that he actually, knows about or is an expert, I would be scared of debating Ted Cruz. And here, he was reduced to he wasn't incoherent. It's religious zealotry. Like, that's all it is. I mean, that's why we're doing all this. That's why you support the bombing Iran. And then that amazing moment where he slips and says, "We are bombing Iran," and Tucker's like, "Wait, we? I thought it was Israel is doing this." He's, "Oh, well."
Just Israel with our support.
This was the most spectacular catastrophe, maybe, by an American politician's around foreign policy that I've ever seen. It is so beautiful. It's like a fireworks of constructive destruction. It's just beautiful. And
Tucker,
yeah, go.
Well, Tucker could have hit him on more. Like, well, okay, his ignorance shows that he's not really passionate about the subject. That's what I was going to say about it. Like, it feels like it's his job to repeat these talking points, and he doesn't actually believe in them. Because if he believed and cared, he would know Genesis 12:3. He would know the population of Iran. He would know the ethnic makeup of Iran. He'd be very passionate about the area itself, but he's not. He knows what his marching orders are. And
yeah, I mean, I think he loves that money. I think he's actually gotten a lot of. I forget the number, but I believe Cruz is among the top 5 or 10 recipients of Israel lobby money, like millions. I think he's in for millions at this point, I'm sure. And I think that's probably it. And he's just like, cool. And it wasn't really challenged until now.
Yeah.
He had no reason to go read the history. He had no reason to go like study the opposition's arguments until now. And so he's caught up short. It's a beautiful thing to see. And like the fact that it's Tucker Carlson with his rep tie, former proponent of the Iraq War, former, like, there was no more perfect and pure face of the Republican establishment than Tucker Carlson 20 years ago. And that is who is ambushing you in your office, bro, in the Senate building. I mean, and taking down the American empire.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson's taking down the American empire, everybody.
His strategy for that conversation was he wanted to frame himself as like aligned with Tucker, like aligned with him on COVID, aligned with him on the Iraq War, aligned with him on all these issues. But if you go back in time and check his record on that, if you check his record on COVID, he was the biggest coward throughout COVID. He's been the biggest coward throughout his entire career. He's been pretty much a neocon his entire career. He has, and Tucker could have called him out on that, but he just did the more productive thing of like trying to figure out why you support Israel. And there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's really nothing there.
I mean, this is about sort of the personality of politicians. But if you think about Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and their histories personally with Donald Trump and what they are now doing in service of Donald Trump, Donald Trump made fun of Ted Cruz's wife, called her ugly. Right?
Yeah.
Didn't Trump called Ted Cruz's wife ugly?
Sure. Yeah. In the campaign, and said his dad killed JFK, and
said his dad killed JFK. Called Marco Rubio little Marco Rubio. And these guys, I mean, I don't know what that is. That's not beta. That's something else entirely, and I don't know what it is, but it's an amazing. And I got to say, if some foreign government with a lot of money and influence comes calling at your door and says, hey, we're going to help you win the next election by running all these, campaign events for you in Texas. I mean, is there any kind of like integrity or pride or principle stopping you from doing that? No, of course not. We know this. Because Donald Trump said your wife was ugly, bro. and all you do is express loyalty to Donald Trump and talk about what a great president he is. I mean, again, politicians are not like us. And this is the most important thing. They just aren't.
They just go towards power. Yeah.
These are sociopaths. We all know this. There's a small segment of the population, maybe only 1% or less, right? I don't even know a politician personally. And I know everybody I know is political, right? But I don't know anybody who's actually tried to be a political leader. It's a very small segment of the population, but it's there that's just actually sociopathic and possibly psychopathic. That they're the ones. Who else would want to be mayor of New York City or president of the United States or warden of a prison or chief of CENTCOM, you know, like, you got to be very comfortable with killing lots of people, controlling lots of people, incarcerating lots of people, deciding whether lots of people die or not. I mean, it's a thing. It's a particular personality. And yeah, I just wish all of us would be aware of that all the time. There is no such thing as a politician who is like us. Normal human beings who actually, you know, don't want to control and incarcerate and murder mass numbers of people without even flinching. I mean, Netanyahu kills children without flinching. God, can you imagine that? Like, and knowing, oh, Jesus. Anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, that's real. It's important. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think we should talk about the geopolitical situation of where this puts us and what's happening. Because, first of all, do you think Israel or Iran is winning? From what it looks like, Israel is going to be an air war. It's going to be an air war. I don't think there's any plans in the books at all for the United States to do a ground invasion, and I don't think the IDF has the capability to do a ground invasion. Like, you know, it would take years to stage a ground invasion, and where are they going to do that? Like, we don't have our bases in Afghanistan anymore. We're Azerbaijan or Iraq is not friendly. It's not going to work out. So I think that's genuinely off the table, which is why Trump might be so cool about it. And it looks like Iran's bombing capabilities have been actually taken out by Israel's airstrikes quite a bit. And that the strikes on Tel Aviv haven't been as big as anticipated. I think only 11 people died in Tel Aviv in those strikes, and I think they were anticipating much, much more. And so it looks like the Iranian regime is dying, that they kind of don't have anybody to support them. Perhaps Putin is abandoning them. It looks like Putin wants to mediate peace talks, and he's not really urging them on in war. It doesn't look like China's fueling them, I don't think. It looks like Putin abandoned Syria. He abandoned Assad and let that happen, which signaled he might do that to Iran. So it looks like Iran's goose is cooked, and we're going to have a world without the Ayatollah or without this current IRGC government, potentially. I don't know how we're going to get there, but it looks like Iran is in serious decline. And yeah, the entire Middle East is going to be reshaped by this.
Okay, so this will be the subject of my soon forthcoming Substack piece. Most likely publishing it tomorrow. So there's a lot to say here. So let's, okay. So as I said earlier, for 25 years, since the George W. Bush administration, the United States, through various agencies and means, has been attempting to overthrow the regime in Iran. Covertly, overtly, and by supporting Israel in various ways. Israel, long before this, was bombing Iranian sites that they believed were part of the nuclear program. They assassinated many Iranian nuclear scientists before this. I mean, like on the street, bang, bang in the head, you know, guys rolling up on a motorcycle and shooting scientists in the head. You know, it's been going on a long time. The United States, through the National Endowment for Democracy and USAID, has supported financially and probably in other ways, you know, multiple Iranian dissident groups, both inside Iran, but mostly around Iran and then outside of Iran. There are radio stations encircling Iran in countries all around Iran that are funded directly by the United States government, the State Department, Voice of America, etc., that have been beaming in anti-regime propaganda for 3 decades solid, night and day. The MEK is an actual terrorist organization that's an Iranian dissident organization that is based, I believe, in Kurdistan, that gets tremendous support, has always gotten most of its support from the United States government and the CIA, etc., that has actually conducted violent terrorist raids inside Iran and is allied with various dissident groups in Iran that are also allied and get funding from the United States government and the British government. So this has been going on for 25 years. There has not been, still to this day, any significant organized political opposition to the Iranian regime, to the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran, to the Ayatollahs, to the mullahs, to the theocratic, nothing. We have seen no strikes. We have seen no protests, not against the regime. We've seen protests against the morality police. We have seen protests sort of vaguely against the, but not anything that's been a sort of, there's no organized group or party, or militia, rebel force, insurgency against the, never. We haven't seen that, right? So in other words, my point is that all of those resources and energy that the United States and the West has put into fomenting regime change, insurgency, has produced, as far as I can tell, basically nothing. But there has been, but go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's been counterproductive. I think culturally, Persia is different than the theocracy that is the Ayatollah and the mullahs. And the only thing keeping Iranian identity together is anti-Western sentiment, because they know that the West is sanctioning them and trying to destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this has all been like almost exactly coincidental with the rise of satellite dishes. The first satellite dish appeared in Tehran in 1991. And the regime at first was like, okay, whatever. It was just like a few, actually, it was like people in the government were the people who had them at first, so it wasn't a problem. But then by like 1993, 1994, it was like 10,000, 20,000 people had them in Tehran, and they were starting to appear on apartment buildings in Tehran. And then the Ayatollah ordered a crackdown, and the police went door to door and ripped down all these satellite dishes. And then I think it was by something like, by 2013, 10 years later or so, there was a poll taken or a survey taken. But you could just see it. Just Google this. Like 70% of Iranian citizens owned a satellite dish. But, Ahmadinejad, who was the president then, like ordered a nationwide crackdown, and the cops went all around Tehran, and they destroyed 100,000 satellite dishes. And of course, like within a few weeks, they all sprouted up again. And what are they watching? They're watching porn, and they're watching American TV, and they're watching entertainment from the West, and they're watching Kim Kardashian, and and the mullahs can't stand it, and Sharia law is just dissolving. See, this is the thing, and this will be the subject of the Substack piece that I'm writing. Every minute, every day, Sharia law is dissolving in Iran. I mean, the women, we know about this. Women have been taking off their hijabs. I believe from most reports I've heard, it's clear that like I think more than half of Iranian women don't wear the hijab regularly anymore. It's over. The morality police who used to enforce that law, they've mostly given up on it. They've announced it a couple times. They've given up on it. But then if you just, you can go on YouTube and take a tour. You can take a tour of downtown Tehran on YouTube now. Go look. You'll see. It looks like a hedonistic Western paradise for the most part. And so the mullahs and Sharia law and the whole foundation of the Islamic Republic is dissolving every day. We don't need to intervene one bit. We can just let them go.
Okay, but what I was asking originally, I think you're totally right that we don't need to do anything. That Iran was more democratic in 1953, or even the Shah was more democratic, and we've been overthrowing them and being subversive to their intention to modernize. But what does a post-Iran regime look like? Like world, what does the Middle East look like? Is Israel a superpower? Like the Ayatollah's down, there is regime change in Iran.
Okay, yeah. So let me let me I guess put a punctuation point on that, what I was saying there. So Trita Parsi, who was on Unregistered a couple times, just put out what I think is, at this point, to me, the most compelling analysis about Israel's intentions. And I guess by extension, American intentions. I don't know, but what they're trying to do here, what they're hoping for, what their objectives are. And again, when you look at the history of Israel, you have to be as cynical as anyone could be. I mean, if you look at Israeli strategy and tactics since before the founding of Israel, all the way through the history of that country, I mean, their foreign policy, the centerpiece of their foreign policy has been assassinations. That's their major strategy always. Anyway. So Trita Parsi, who is with the Quincy Institute and is a specialist in Iran, said, I think yesterday, that he believes that the strategy for Israel in this war is not regime change, but meaning, and this is clear, right? They have no serious or even intention of replacing the current regime with a different and new regime, right? In other words,
yeah,
there's no evidence that Israel or the United States has any people like ready to go to step in and take over, or even do the overthrow. The first thing, there has to be an overthrow, which has to be on the ground from the streets. I mean, someone has to physically go into the palaces and has to physically go into the barracks and into the military headquarters and, change the government. So therefore, and which is, God, it's so disgusting. But anyway, yeah. So clearly these people have no interest. I mean, they talk about regime change, like people like Ted Cruz. And my God, everybody, please go watch that. Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, I suppose Donald Trump himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, the leaders of this campaign, this war against Iran, who have basically all been saying this is about regime change without actually saying it sometimes. But yeah, they have no program to do that at all. I mean, this is less than, is it even less than in Iraq? Possibly. Less of a plan to actually change the regime. There's nothing going on in Iran that would tell us that the regime will be changed. So Trita Parsi says it's not he says the strategy is not regime change. The objective is not regime change. It's regime collapse. Period. Meaning they have no actual plan other than temporary chaos in the country of their leading adversary, which will just be, yet another temporary advantage that Israel would have. I mean, Israel was founded upon the knowledge and prediction that it would be an eternal wartime state.
Well, this is the thing.
All they can ever do is just forestall. You're always going to be at war. A Jewish ethno-state in the Levant will always be at war. Theodore Herzl said it. They all said it. So settle in, guys. Unless you want to live in weirdly United States and not have to be at war all the time. But anyway, So yeah, that's the best you can ever do in Israel, and that's what they are doing now. They know they can't get a regime change in Iran. They know they can't get for sure, they know they can't get a pro-Israel regime in Iran or a pro-US regime in Iran. So clearly, it's just about fomenting chaos and making their adversary weaker in the near term, right?
Yeah, but let's say you have a world where Khomeini is assassinated, and it either devolves into civil war or Prince Reza rises up and gets popular support.
He rises up from Los Angeles. You mean?
Yeah.
From Topanga, or no, from Encino. I think he's in Encino. Yeah.
I do hear that he's like popular and respected, and when he talks, people listen, and there might be something real there. Reza.
The Shah's son?
Shah's son. Yeah.
Dude, the Shah's son is nothing. Are you serious? The Shah outside of So for those who don't know, the Iranian political world, I mean, those who are political, is kind of simple. I mean, there's two groups. There's people who live in Iran and there's people who live in Los Angeles. There's a gigantic, by far the largest Iranian expat community in Iran, in LA. And a giant portion of that, by the way, is Jewish. So, and I've known a few of these people. So yeah, Jewish Persians who were basically expelled or felt that they were expelled in 1979, they all moved to LA for various reasons. And that is the center. It's kind of like southern Florida for Cubans, right? So you'll find the heart of the anti-Iran resistance will be in Los Angeles among Iranians. I mean, the people you'll see on Piers Morgan who are just like fanatical, anti-Iran, want to go to war with Iran, and they're Iranians, they live in Santa Monica. And that's it. And those are the only people in the world who care about this stuff, yet they have a lot of influence. So
what I'm saying is the Ayatollah is gone. Like, that's a predictable outcome, right?
Why is it predictable?
Well, again, like what Trita was saying, is that it's not necessarily regime change, but regime collapse. Yeah. And it seems like there's a couple small targeted actions that Israel or the U.S. could take to accelerate that and make that happen. And longer have Iran as this boogeyman, which is Israel's entire reason for existence. If Israel's nuclear capability is destroyed, Israel's alleged theocratic regime that is genocidal is out, and they don't have backing from Russia, why do we need to support Israel anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the pro-Israel arguments are completely bankrupt now. There's nothing there anymore. You could say there was an argument until until fracking.
Mm-hmm. Well, what if we get
fracking? Yeah.
What if we get Abraham Accords 2.0 without the adversary of Iran, and we pretty much have Saudi Arabia and the entire Middle East at some sort of peace agreement with Israel without this giant state supposedly sponsoring Hezbollah and Hamas to disrupt it all? Don't you have peace in the region to some extent? And don't you have no reason for Russia or the United States to be involved?
Sure. Like if you can convince all the Palestinians, so that would be 2 million in Gaza, 3 million in West Bank, I think, 4 million. And then, 6 to 8 million in Jordan, and then several million in Lebanon. If you can convince all those Palestinians, which is, I don't know, a total of 10 to 20 million, all surrounding and inside Israel, including inside Israel itself, to accept a Jewish apartheid ethno-state there permanently, yeah, everything will be cool. And everything will be great. And Barry Weiss will be the queen of the world. And we will live in harmony forever. And I mean, we will. Like, yeah, if all the Palestinians, again, 10+ million of them, and by the way, they're not just there, I mean, around the world, if you get them all to agree to accept this Jewish apartheid ethno-state right there permanently forever, sure, then everything's great and there will be no war in the Middle East. And oh my God, it's going to be amazing. And we're going to all just hang out in Tel Aviv if we're allowed to, if we're the right color.
I don't
right
think
ethnicity. I'm sorry, right ethnicity. I know they're brown Jews. I know they're brown Jews. Right ethnicity. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think that's necessarily material to the political situation of an agreement. Because like, when have the Palestinians had representation in like Egypt or Jordan or Libya or Saudi Arabia? When have those governments cared for the Palestinian people?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Sure. Only when they're forced to. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And the conflict will be contained to Israel leveling their captive population, as opposed to Israel berating their neighbors that have standing armies.
Man, I know. God. Ethno-nationalism, especially colonial ethno-nationalism, man, it's just so vicious. And it just, look historically at every colonial ethno-nationalist project, even if you like it, even if like their norms and their rules were preferable to you than the indigenous population they were colonizing, like even then it's just got to kill so many people. Like, why can't we just stay in Belgium? Why can't we just stay in Israel's case in Brooklyn? I mean, the whole imperial project, you can't do it in that way, in an actual statist, expansionist, territorial, sovereigntist way, meaning attempting to establish sovereign dominion over foreign lands, that thing, not just being a tourist, not just buying land, but that thing, I mean, it's just always required killing lots of people. And Israel is just one example of this. And it's just crazy, man.
The alternative view is Israel takes out their biggest adversary, Iran, and then do they go after Turkey? And do they just try to establish themselves as a major power and continue to be belligerent?
Who, Israel?
Israel. Like,
again, like they can't have a long-term plan.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, Zionism makes that impossible. There's no such thing as a long-term plan when you know that the people surrounding you will forever be wanting to eliminate you. For good reason, that's the thing. The Zionists originally said, of course, colonized indigenous people have always rebelled against their colonizers. That's what the Zionists said, so like they said, it's understandable so that's the part where I'm just like, can you just move back to Brooklyn now? Like, I don't, it's, there is no evidence at all. The two-state solution people, I think it's true. The radical right-wing Zionists are actually correct about this. Netanyahu is correct about this. Yeah, the Palestinians don't want a two-state solution anymore. I'm not sure they ever did. Correct. Sure. Right. They never wanted a Jewish ethno-state colony in their neighborhood. Thank you. They don't. And whether that's right or wrong or good or bad, or whether you like it or not, that's just a fact. And what do you want to then do about it? Kill all of them so that you can have a Jewish ethno-state, apartheid state there? Or have something else like a binational state? Whatever. But like, it's the logic of the project that began in the 1890s. It's not about, oh, the Palestinians did this terrorist act and they're so horrible in 1992 or 1997 or 2004 or whatever. Or the Israelis are so brutal and they've had to like crush the Palestinians in these disproportionate ways and horrifically over. It's neither. It's that the project of Zionism requires this killing. It just does. You can't, because there were people there, 500,000 of them, and they refused to leave. And the Zionists had to force them out and have continued to have had to force them out. And those people have continued to resist, as the original Zionists said they would. So Jews, you know, this is the deal. If you're going to live in Israel, you're always going to be in war. If you live in Los Angeles, you will not be in war. Sorry.
The Jews that are in Israel are descendants of terrorists, are descendants of colonizers.
Worse.
They don't want to. They're gangsters. This whole war against Iran could just be October 7th happened, and now we're just gonna go apeshit as a gangster retaliation. But the descendants that are in Israel are descendants of gangsters. They want violence. All they know is violence.
It's true.
Why do you want them over here?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like, I think
I'm trying to be nice here.
I know.
You know, like I'm trying to. No, I think I do feel, I mean, as a postmodernist, a moralist, I do think there's according to the logic of American ethics, I do think the United States is ethically obligated, not morally, but ethically, according to its own logic, ethically obligated to, I said this on Twitter, and a bunch of big Zionists mocked me and laughed at me on Twitter when I said this, but I hold to this completely. I think, and in fact, this would basically end the entire conflict, I believe, if the United States established a fund, probably, you know, taken from the $3 billion per year we give to Israel, and maybe even more. I would be for even maybe adding to that. Sure. I really would. A fund, federal government, federal government, massive fund to resettle. And I mean, do it comfortably. I don't want to punish Israeli citizens who happen to have been born there. It's not their fault to have been born inside of a psychotic state. To resettle them wherever, and mostly in the United States, maybe, and Britain, the place that the two countries that are most responsible for founding Israel and maintaining it. So most of it should be the US and Britain. Yeah. So your deal is, if you're an Israeli,
but
you have a choice. Wait, hold on. So the choice would be, and the United States could make this happen tomorrow. The choice would be, you can move to the United States or Britain or wherever, fully funded, and maybe like, I'm talking about like $1 million per, which is that's a thing that could happen. You get like $1 million for in resettlement costs, or you you publicly support a binational state in which Palestinians get full rights, because that'll bring peace too. So you have a choice. You can either resettle or stay there, but you're going to have to support Palestinian full rights, human,
Yeah.
the shit that everyone else gets in the world. Weird. So there you go. That's all.
Yeah. But Zionists, the people who stand the most to gain from this, are laughing you out on Twitter and saying, why would we ever consider this? Like, they seem fully committed to the project. The people who are there right now seem fully committed to the project.
Right. And
yeah.
I keep watching them and I'm like, do you guys know what's going on? Am I the one who doesn't see what's happening, or are they the one who doesn't? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think?
But
Does it not seem to you?
You're somebody who believes in choices, right? And that people choose things. And it seems like they have chosen to make themselves a pariah because this is what they believe in. Like, this is their psychosis. This is what they want.
Yeah.
This seems exactly like what they want. This. Yeah. This seems.
As I've said, it's not Jews. It's a messianic cult of Jews.
Yeah. No, it's sure.
It is. No, really. I mean, actually, really, it is. That's what Zionism and Israel as a project has always been. It's been a particular messianic cult of Jews, who are idolatrous. They have made a nation state into their god, and this is why many rabbis have said it's not just that Zionism is not just non-Jewish, it's anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic in that way, that it is a complete repudiation of Judaism, the religion, because of course it makes a nation state the idol, the god, the new thing to worship, to orient your life around, to sacrifice your life for. You're supposed to sacrifice your life for a nation state, Israel. What about God? So it's completely idolatrous. So rabbis, who I believe are the actual keepers of the Jewish faith, they know this, and it's not just a few rabbis, it's many rabbis, including many in Israel itself, who have made this argument for 100 years that Zionism is anti-Semitic because it is idolatrous. So again, the United States is Zion. Jews listening, and if you have an issue anywhere, move here. And you know what? There's even other countries where no one gives a fuck. Do you think Mexicans care about Jews? You can have a great time on a beach in Mexico.
They might start.
Right. If you keep killing brown children, right. If you keep slaughtering, if you keep having like the intestines of brown 4-year-old girls hanging out on their phones, yeah, they might start to think something about Israelis. Yeah, true. 60 civilians in one day yesterday who were trying to get aid, and you can see their intestines laying all over the street. I'm sorry,
wow.
It's just yes.
We're at time right now, but do you want to go a little bit longer and talk about the splitting of MAGA just a little bit?
Yeah.
And how Trump is playing this out. It started, I think the division crystallized when Tucker got on Bannon's War Room a couple days ago.
Yep.
And sort of united the hardcore boomer MAGA base that buys Mike Lindell's pillows from Steve Bannon. And the the other camp that came over from Fox News and followed Tucker, or the people who watched Tucker's monologues, the Tucker camp, they finally joined forces and have been uniformly against regime change and have been talking about Israel in ways that they haven't talked about Israel before.
Yeah.
I think Trump, anything could happen. I think Trump is intentionally putting negotiations in a way where anything could happen, and I think he does want to resolve this with peace. I do think a ground invasion is off the table, and I think he wants to do as minimal strikes as possible. But I think he is potentially fallen for the boomer propaganda about Iran and a nuke, but we'll see. It is incredible how calm he is throughout all this, and how everybody else is swirling it like crazy, and he's just making a joke about erecting a flagpole on the lawn and just laughing it up and being nonchalant about everything.
Okay, so we haven't talked about the parade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the military parade. Yeah. I mean,
it's highly relevant, is it not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is the 250th anniversary of the Army, and like we've had military parades before in this country, and it was seen as blandly patriotic, and it seems appropriate for the 250th birthday. I know that it looks like a demonstration of force, but it didn't seem that grand. It seemed more like just a seemed like just a celebration of history. It really didn't seem like a demonstration of force. I didn't see anything scary in that parade. I saw an ethnically diverse group of young people marching out of step and wearing old uniforms. I didn't see giant missiles and look what we can do.
I'm sorry, were those not active members of the United States Army? I thought
totally. Yeah, they were.
Oh, they were. Okay, but that's how they march in the street.
But they don't march in step.
Active members.
They weren't goose stepping
of the U.S. Army.
Yeah, we're always going to have a military threat.
No, like I could kick the ass of that entire troop. Like I'm serious. Like you could.
Yeah.
There was nothing there that would no. Michael, what percentage of Americans are obese right now?
Yeah. A lot.
It's a majority. Okay. And get this. Try this one. Which regions of the country have produced the lion's share of U.S. Army veterans?
Yeah, it's the South.
And Midwest.
And the Midwest? Yeah, sure.
Midwest and South. Yeah. And tell me about the obesity rates in the Midwest and the South. They're off the fucking charts. When I get off the plane in Indianapolis, and I transferred planes in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was in Marine World. Like, what the fuck happened here? I mean, and then if you go to the South, everybody knows this. The obesity rates are not to be trifled with. It's a big thing. No, I mean this. And if you saw, and then video games, and I mean this, and sort of the whole culture of Zoomers and online screen culture where people don't go outside. I mean, how many American men don't go outside? You know, I mean, there are athletes, the one who plays sports, and they're siloed off here, and we watch them on TV. And I think, as far as I can tell, like pretty much every other American young man stays inside on his phone all day. And so you just simply cannot field an infantry worth anything with a population like that. And most certainly you can't invade a goddamn country. You know, when the United States invaded and attempted to occupy Iraq, that was actually an issue. And that's way back then. That's 20 years ago. That video games was the major interest of the troops who were stationed in Iraq. It turned out they were kind of a bunch of dumb shits. Right. And we know this from a lot of evidence. And now, 20 years later, my gosh, I mean, think about how American young men have changed in the last 20 years since then. It's not good. I mean, from an American imperial perspective, I mean, I should be supporting this and celebrating the fact that, from what I can tell, a majority of American young men love Captain America and don't go outdoors. I mean, you're not going to ever be a soldier, which is good. As an anti-imperialist, I guess that's good. I don't know, but I think, don't you think physically we are now physically incapable of invading and occupying a foreign country? I think that's now off the table, it's no longer a possibility, right?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I get your point, and this is why Hank Seth is on board. And yeah, the recruiting crisis is something
Right.
Trump is specifically been trying to address, and we've talked about this quite a bit.
Fuck recruiting. I mean, fuck recruiting. You recruit more. If they get more recruits, they're going to get more obese video gamers.
Yeah.
Honestly, no, if you want to recruit a real army, then do what the sports leagues are doing. Go to the Dominican Republic.
They are doing that. That's what I was saying. Notice how diverse.
Here's an idea, guys. MAGA. How about more immigration?
No, that's explicitly a plan, dude. That's the Democrats' legit plan. We've had.
If you want an army, that will protect this country, more immigration, you retarded idiots. Sorry.
I think this is the argument I've been trying to bring up. I think this is the thing that will get you to finally oppose immigration, is that Democratic senators and Democratic representatives have explicitly talked about the need to import people. The need to import people to staff the military because we can't do it on our own. And they've been talking about exchanging citizenship for service.
Right. That no, that's super smart. It's just I get exactly what you're saying here, but right now, the contradictions are so profuse that I'm just sort of wallowing in it. You know what I mean? I'm not even interested in taking a particular position right now. I just want to point out the contradictions in all these things that are so ridiculous and enjoy it. It's entertainment.
Okay. So I was expecting you to come on here and gloat that MAGA is over. And that
it is.
No. Okay. I think
you don't think
MAGA.
So? Wait, you don't.
No.
It'll really.
Yeah, I think Bannon and Tucker are still supporting Trump. I think everybody's still standing behind Trump, and the U.S. has not had an invasion yet. The U.S. has not explicitly used their own bombs
yet.
Now, and I know if you're aware of what's happening, you realize that this is a 30-year project that the United States has been doing forever, and that this was always the plan. Nice. if you're nuanced and you see that, yes, of course. But I think Trump potentially is the man for the moment on this, and is the person who can handle this situation with as little killing as possible. The person that can work with Putin, the other, superpower that is putting his influence on the region. Did you see what he said at G7? When he showed up and he was talking about trade with Mark Carney, and then completely unprovoked, Trump says, this should have always been G8. It was a huge mistake. That's why everything's bad in the world. That's why you have a war in Ukraine, is that we don't have Putin in G7. It should be G8,
Yes.
Completely unprovoked. Yep. No reason to say that. Putin has been calling Trump on the phone. So we've got relations back with the two major superpowers in the region. I think if Trump plays his cards right, this is an incredibly high stakes situation. Anything could happen. I think MAGA is in the balance, but I don't think it's dead yet. And I think he could navigate this situation to where there's no invasion, the Iranian regime gets toppled, and there's a new balance of power within a couple months in the region, and the temperature has gone down. And all things considered, this confrontation was kind of always in the books, and it seems like a very desperate last-ditch attempt by the Israelis, because they knew that peace was pretty much coming up. And Trump evacuated all the bases within striking distance of Iran, so Americans wouldn't die, and so America wouldn't get dragged into this. So I think... I think the only people going after Trump right now are libertarians whose support was tenuous to begin with. And I think the MAGA base is against regime change, but we haven't really crossed the Rubicon yet. We're very close, but not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So number one, when the big think tanks come calling to you, I'm just asking, please, I'm begging you to say no. Don't work for them. No matter what, they're going to offer you a lot of money, Michael, but don't take it. Okay, just don't. Number two, that's a beautiful argument as usual, but like, is that supporting the claim that Trump was colluding with Israel in deceiving all of us
That's
for
the thing.
several
Yeah,
weeks?
that's the thing.
Or not?
I think
Yeah, bitch. What now?
you can. I think you can say that the 60-day ultimatum was transparent, and that the attacks began on day 61, and these were Israel's attacks, and he didn't do anything to stop them. I think it's possible that, Trump with Netanyahu this whole time, but I think.
But wait, don't you want to say?
Yeah.
Wait, don't we agree? Berletic's right about this.
That this is
That
the United States
it's an American
plan
project
from the beginning.
It's been an American
it's a deep state American project from the beginning. Yeah.
Not to say that Israel hasn't been interested. Netanyahu has of course been interested in overthrowing Iran and attacking Iran, of course, but that the biggest, what do we want to say, the largest social phenomenon happening here is the United States attempting to remove the Iranian regime since 1979. And here's a big piece of evidence, by the way, for that argument, which Berletic didn't even raise, I don't think, which is that for most of the 80s, for many, many years after the Iranian Revolution, Iran and Israel were friendly and had cooperative arrangements and treaties and deals, I believe, through most of the 80s. And in the 90s is when Netanyahu comes to power, the Intifada happens, and for various reasons, Israel decides to go to war with Iran. And I need to get into the bottom of that. I'm not sure exactly what that decision making was about, but we know this is true. There's a fact that in the 80s, generally, Iran and Israel were friendly and allied, actually. And then in the 90s, the Israeli government turned against Iran. And we have since then been in the United States following their lead in going after it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Brian Berletic also said that the Obama deal was deceptive, that it was just to buy us time in the region, that it wasn't a plan that we were actually committed to sticking to, which kind of makes sense because Biden never really tried to resuscitate that. But I think it's I know that we should hold Trump to responsibility because he's actually in power, but it's notable to say that Harris was saying that Iran is our biggest adversary in the region, and that Harris was an Iran hawk throughout the campaign as well. So it seems like this was always the plan, regardless of who was in power. And so that can get us to say, if the plan continues despite who's in power, like you really have to rethink the federal government and electoral politics and sort of see it as a course that's going to run itself through regardless of who's in power. You have to factor that in to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's so important what you're saying, but I think Berletic's analysis is like ringing truer and truer, and it's more important the more I think about it. Israel, the Zionist project, whatever you want to call it, AIPAC, the Israel lobby, has most certainly winnowed its way into American political culture and political infrastructure and has certainly taken almost control, I guess, of particular aspects of American foreign policy and even in domestic politics, like I said, with the NYPD and the LAPD. True. But, clearly they don't control everything or even most things in American life. They control the things that are important to the state of Israel. And that's what people need to understand. Israelis don't give a shit about, as I said earlier, about, neoconservative regime change fantasies. They think that's ridiculous. Who cares? They'll say to you first that the Iraqis and the Iranians will never be democratic, classical liberals. There's a particularist orientation, obviously, among Israelis. It's a very specific. Yeah, and that makes sense, and it's logical. And even I don't even begrudge it. As I said, like I get it. Like if I were born there, I probably would have the same idea. Like, okay, I happen to be born in this place, and I happen to be surrounded by people who want to fucking throw rockets at me. Yeah. Do I want to investigate why? Do I want to critique why and get into like why my grandparents came here from Poland? And no, I just want to fucking kill the enemy who are trying to kill me. I get it. I do. As an actual Israeli, for sure, I get it. You would be stupid not to want to fire back at Iran if you live in Tel Aviv. Am I right? Yeah. So I get it. That doesn't mean that the Zionist project makes any sense, though, because the Zionist project is what put you there in Tel Aviv under the Iranian bombs. It just was a question of when that would happen, how long it would take for the Arabs surrounding the Jewish ethno-state to find you and throw their missiles at you. That's all. We've always known that. The Herzls and the Jabotinskis and the Ben-Gurions have always known that and told you, Jews, that if you live in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you will have missiles being fired at you because the indigenous population has always resisted colonization, they said. And that's what's happening now. So just leave. Anyway, sorry. Miami's nice, similar. Los Angeles, the weather, the topography is exactly like Israel. It's awesome. You'll love it here.
Why do you feel any connection to these people, like that you need to save them? Like
because they fucking claim me. If they like say that,
shouldn't you be trying to distance yourself as much as possible from them and not care about their future?
When the state of Israel says that I am no longer eligible for citizenship, I will stop caring. Mm-hmm. Seriously. Well, and when the United States, my government stops supporting it. Yeah, those two things.
I'm not telling you to stop care, but maybe you should like just distance your identity from them, or like be more hostile to them, like not care about.
I am.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to draw a very, very, very clear line between these Israeli freaks who are members of a cult and the Jews I know who are American Jews who are like just a bunch of fucking weirdo comedians and pornographers. Like they don't, you know what I mean? Like they're all, and intellectuals. I mean, the Jews I know in America, they're all American. They're all descended basically from Brooklyn. They all have Brooklyn ancestors. That's truly true. And, they're like in comedy and intellectuals, and they're business people, or they're comedians, or they're in porn. I mean, honestly, that's every Jew I've known has been one of those, and have had nothing to do with a fucking Jewish ethno-state in the Middle East. It's just so weird. All right, we got to go, man.
Yeah. Real quick, pause.
You've been rambling too much, I gotta say. Just too much from you. Can you try to like limit your
Posmo was just saying hi to us today, calling us lolberts. Once again,
what does that mean exactly? I've been called that many times over the years. I've never been real clear about it. That means you're just so like retard. Is that what that means? Like
pretty much, yeah. It's like libtard, but like libertarians like aren't to be taken seriously and are meant to be ridiculed and don't have any serious ideas, and they
Right.
They go into weird mental abstractions or not. Yeah.
So you know what I do when I find out that there's someone in the world who is a lulbart, who should not be taken seriously and just is so ridiculous. You know what I do? I go find their YouTube channel. I enter the chat during their live stream. I send them $2 for a super chat, and I tell them to change their ways.
Yeah.
Because they're so stupid and not worthy of being. Dude, it's just an affirmation. Thank you, Posmo.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I do want to say for people considering super chats, usually the way this works with financial domination is that you give us money and then we insult you, not the other way around. Yeah.
And so the main point Michael's trying to make here, and is to spend more money. We need bigger super chats. We need like larger amounts. Yeah.
You pathetic pay pigs.
If you want to really get busy with me and Michael, give us some more money. Like bigger. So. And we'll go off on you. And I know that's what you guys are into. So
that's just how it's,
it's a parasocial internet relationship that's quite BDSM related.
Yeah. Maybe we're the ones with the humiliation king.
Exactly. My dude is so fucking dope. All right. We're going to go. We got to go. Our people are waiting, man. They're waiting in the after party. I'm getting texts from people. They're saying, the after party's like waiting.
I know. Patreon.com/unregistered still. Does that have the link?
Yes, for now. Yes. The only way you can get in for now is right there to the after party. And my God, they're showing titties in the after party. No. And then no, for real. Like wow. I didn't realize it was going to get that crazy, but the after party is amazing. So if you want to be a member, if you want to come to, if
you want to come,
hey, now you can be totally anonymous. This is true. But to just watch this shit or participate, whatever you're into, I'm not judging. Go to patreon.com/unregistered and Tom Luongo will not be there. Well, I don't know. Maybe it will be. And join. It's like $5 a month. It's so cheap. So yeah. And then you can hang out with Michael and me and other people and I don't know. There might be craziness. So do that.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. But ThaddeusRussell.substack.com. All your writings there.
Substack. Is really the place to go if you want to. Everything I'm going to do, everything I'm doing is being funneled. We're gradually migrating everything over there. Join Substack to be abreast, to be to be kept updated on everything that I'm doing and Michael's doing, and it'll be awesome. Laurel, yes, go ahead.
I will say the whole theory that this all works out and that the U.S. and Russia leave and sort of make peace after all this is said and done in a couple months. That's Tom Luongo's theory. That's his. So I do plagiarize many people on here, but I think that's a unique, wide-angle lens of everything going on that needs to be addressed.
He's a smart dude. I agree. Okay. We got to go, though.
Cool.
You're the man. You are the fucking man. Weimer time every week. All right, man. See you on the other side.
Yep. Peace. Shalom.
Shalom.